He was smiling. Not the kind of smile you fake when cameras are around. This was different. Relaxed. Warm. Familiar. And that's what made Jenny stop breathing. The video lit up her screen at 11:47 p.m. No name. No message. Just a forwarded clip sent by a number she didn't recognize. 31 seconds long. Shaky footage. Loud music in the background. And right in the center of it, Sumit, dressed in formal cream-colored clothes, holding a gold ring, standing across from a much younger woman. The camera dipped just enough to show the flower garlands around both their necks. Jenny blinked. She couldn't tell if she was hallucinating or dreaming. But the video kept playing. Sumit took the woman's hand, slipped the ring on. Guests clapped. Someone behind the camera yelled something in Hindi. It ended there. Jenny didn't move for several seconds. Her phone dropped to the side of the bed. She looked around the dimly lit room in Palm Springs, where she had been resting, where everything was finally supposed to feel peaceful again, where she thought she had distance, safety, a little dignity. And now, out of nowhere, this. She sat up straight, picked up the phone, watched the clip again, and again, each time hoping she'd notice something that made it all make sense. A prank, a party, a commercial shoot, anything. But each time, the truth stared back harder. Sumit looked completely at home, not hesitant, not scared, not caught. Like this wasn't new, like this was part of a life she was never supposed to see. Her fingers moved before her brain did. She forwarded the clip to her own email, took screenshots, saved the number. But something deeper broke. This wasn't a rumor. It wasn't a manipulated photo. It was motion, action, emotion. Sumit was engaged while she was here, alone, watching from a distance, like a stranger. This is the moment you realize the breakup already happened. He just didn't tell you. She sat still on the edge of the bed, back straight, eyes blank. For almost 10 years she had defended this man. To cameras, to his family, to her own daughters. She had given up her life in America, her routine, her comfort, her future. She had aged in a country that never welcomed her. For him. And here he was. With garlands. With another girl. With a smile Jenny hadn't seen in months. The silence was louder than any fight they'd ever had. She wanted to scream. But it was the absence of emotion that terrified her. She wasn't shocked. That's what hit hardest. There was no disbelief. Just confirmation. Something in her already knew this was possible. She had seen it in his avoidance, in his excuses, in the way he'd changed how he texted. Fewer emojis. Shorter replies. Delayed responses. Always saying he was busy. Busy with what? She had asked herself for weeks. Now, she knew. The quiet of the room made everything worse. The fan spinning overhead, the faint sound of a neighbor's television through the wall. Her packed suitcase still half-zipped near the door from when she returned from India 3 weeks ago. She hadn't unpacked. She thought she was still figuring things out. Thought they needed space. But apparently, Sumit needed something else. She stared at the last frame of the video, Sumit placing his hand gently on the woman's back as they walked off stage. That gesture, that familiarity, that comfort, like it had happened before, like it would happen again. Her phone buzzed again. A message from her friend, back in India. It was a screenshot from a local Facebook group. The same clip had now been posted with a caption in Hindi. Jenny ran it through Google Translate. Sumit's second engagement today. Family looks happy this time. She clutched her chest. The rage didn't come fast. It crept in. Slow. Cold. Focused. She wasn't just betrayed. She was replaced. Erased. Her marriage. Erased. Her sacrifices. Ignored. Her love discarded. And the worst part? The world knew before she did. She stood up, walked to the window, opened the curtains. Nighttime in Palm Springs. Quiet streets. She imagined the guests at the engagement party were still dancing, drinking, laughing, while she stood here, humiliated, forgotten, replaced by someone who didn't have to fight, who didn't have to beg to be accepted, who probably never had to hide in her own house. Jenny didn't cry. Her eyes burned, but nothing fell. Instead, her hand trembled as she reached for her phone again. She didn't call Sumit. Not yet. She went to his cousin's Instagram. Anil. Scrolled through recent stories. There it was. A boomerang clip of 2 hands holding, one with the same ring. A caption with 2 heart emojis and the word finally. No tags. But the implication was clear. And he didn't even try to hide it. That's when she realized it wasn't just betrayal. It was a message. A public visual announcement that she was no longer part of the picture. This wasn't an accident. This was theater. Designed to be seen. Shared. Forwarded. Her phone buzzed again. A text from her daughter. No words. Just 3 question marks and a link to the same clip, now being shared on Reddit threads under 90-Day Fianc exposed. Jenny stared at the screen. Her story had already gone viral, and she hadn't even opened her mouth yet. What hurts more than betrayal is realizing the man who claimed he loved you didn't even bother to lie properly. She sat back down. Her hands were steady now, her mind sharp. If Sumit wanted to go public, she would respond. But not with silence, not with anger, with truth, with memory, with every receipt she had saved since 2014. Because this wasn't going to be a quiet ending, not when her humiliation had been live-streamed to the world. She stared at her phone one last time, pressed pause on the clip, and whispered under her breath, "You planned this." She wasn't sure who she was talking to. Sumit, the cousin, TLC, the fans. But one thing was clear. This wasn't the end of a love story. This was the beginning of a public reckoning. She sat alone with her phone in one hand and their wedding album in the other. Every photo felt staged now. Every smile read like survival. She flipped the page where Sumit held her hand during the temple ceremony, swearing eternal loyalty. He had whispered promises that day. Promises to protect her, fight for her, never betray her. And yet, here she was, back in Palm Springs, staring at proof that every word might have meant nothing. She scrolled through old texts, the ones where he called her his forever, where he said there's no one else, where he swore on his father's memory that their marriage was sacred. She replayed one of their old TLC interviews, the one where he looked dead into the camera and said he would never get engaged again, not under family pressure, not under any circumstance. He said it with conviction. She believed it. The audience believed it. Now those words felt poisonous. She called a producer from the last season, not to rant, not to cry, just to ask one thing. Did you know? The silence on the other end lasted too long. When the answer finally came, it was vague. Careful. We're not filming with him right now. We can't speak on that. She didn't need a confirmation. That silence was one. She thought about going live. She held her finger over the start broadcast button for a full minute. Her fan base was massive. Her inbox was already flooded. People were waiting to hear from her. But something in her paused. She didn't want pity. She didn't want chaos. Not yet. She wanted answers. Real ones. When your whole life gets mocked in a 30-second clip, the worst thing you can do is let rage speak before truth does. She sat with it. The betrayal. The humiliation. The silence from Sumit. She wasn't ready to be reactive. She wanted to be precise. She picked up her journal instead. Wrote down a list of everything he promised. Everything he broke. Every time she let it go. Not to build a case. To remind herself that she had seen signs. She just didn't want to believe them. And for the first time in years, Jenny didn't feel confused. She felt focused. Calm in the middle of her own storm. What she didn't know yet was that someone had already started leaking more footage. Clips that didn't just confirm the engagement, but exposed the entire timeline. And the next video was hours away from going viral. The message was short. 2 lines. Did you see the clip? Is it true? She sent it at 9:12 a.m. Pacific time. The 3 little dots appeared instantly, then disappeared. No reply. Just read. Jenny stared at the screen, waiting. 10 minutes. An hour. 2. Nothing. Not even a thumbs up or denial. This wasn't just any relative. This was Anil, the cousin who used to smile with her on camera. The one who used to drop off groceries when Sumit's parents were icing them out. The same cousin who told her once, off camera, "You're family now, no matter what." At 3:47 p.m., her phone buzzed. A voice note. 17 seconds long. No text attached. Her fingers hesitated. She didn't know what she was hoping to hear. Maybe a misunderstanding. Maybe that the clip was old, that the girl was someone's cousin too. But as soon as she pressed play, the truth landed harder than any rumor. Anil's voice was calm, almost bored. "Yeah, Jenny, it happened. Sumit's parents arranged it. They're happy now. It was going to happen eventually. Honestly, you were never really meant to stay." That line hit like a slap. The worst betrayal isn't the lie. It's the tone of someone who always knew the truth but never told you. She replayed it 3 times. That same voice. That same casual cruelty. You were never really meant to stay. Not even a pause before it. No hesitation. Just straight, clean dismissal. Jenny sat motionless. The phrase replayed in her mind like an alarm. Not meant to stay. Then what was she? A filler? A foreign placeholder until the real bride showed up? She texted back one word. Wow. No reply. She went back to the voice note. Tried to decode his tone. Was there guilt? Regret? No. Just detachment. Like she'd been filed away already. She stared at their wedding photo on her wall. The one with both of them in red and gold, hands clasped. That photo meant something to her. It meant nothing to them. Outside, the California sun burned down on quiet streets. Inside, Jenny sat frozen, holding a phone that had finally confirmed what her instincts had screamed for months. Sumit wasn't hiding. He had simply moved on and told no one. Because to him, she didn't need to know. She stared at the call log. Still no callback. 4 attempts. 2 voicemails. 1 text. Jenny had never felt this invisible. She wasn't just left on read by Sumit. She was being shut out by production too. And the silence didn't feel random. It felt organized. Controlled. She reached out to a different staffer, one who used to coordinate their shooting schedules. The message was clear, polite, careful. Hey, just wondering if anything is happening with Sumit's storyline. I saw something online and wanted to check in. No reply. Not even the courtesy of a blue checkmark. That's when it hit her. This wasn't silence out of shock. It was silence out of protocol. She opened her old contract, scanned the sections she had long ignored. Clauses about exclusivity, story rights, public comments. Legalese designed to protect the show, not her. If Sumit was still under contract, they could film anything they wanted. They could have known. They could have planned it. She looked again at the video clip. The angle. The clarity. The way no one flinched when it was recorded. What if it wasn't a leak? What if it was a preview? Being betrayed by your husband is one thing. Being betrayed by the machine that documented your heartbreak is another. Jenny felt it all shift. The betrayal expanded. It wasn't personal anymore. It was business. She wasn't just abandoned by Sumit. She was discarded by the system that had profited off their pain for years. The storyline had moved on without her consent. She remembered how many times she was told to trust the process, to hold back information for camera timing, to replay breakdowns for better angles, to stay quiet on social media. She had followed every rule. And now she was blocked out, deleted from the narrative like she never mattered. She opened Instagram, looked at TLC's recent posts. Nothing about her. Nothing about Sumit. But she saw the comments. Viewers were asking, speculating. Where's Jenny? Is Sumit engaged again? Why isn't this being covered? That's when she realized this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Because the audience was waking up. And if production thought they could quietly shift the spotlight without answering for it, they were underestimating the one thing Jenny had left. Her voice. And she was ready to use it. With names. With timelines. With everything they forgot she kept. The notification popped up just after 7 p.m. Jenny Slatten is live. No warning. No caption. Just her face. Dimly lit. Eyes red but dry. No filter. No setup. Just Jenny sitting on her couch in Palm Springs, holding her wedding album like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Her hand rested on the cover, her fingers frozen on the gold lettering. For a moment, she didn't say anything. 10 seconds passed. Then 20. The silence pulled everyone in. Thousands joined. The chat exploded. She looked straight into the lens. Her voice didn't shake. It was low. Careful. Almost too steady. This is the photo Sumit told me he'd frame in our bedroom. He said it was the happiest day of his life. She opened the album, turned it to a page where they were both smiling, garlands around their necks, red powder on their foreheads. She held it up. He said we'd never need anyone else, that we were enough. Then nothing. She looked at the image, her own face, still hopeful, still believing. The silence stretched again, long enough for the chat to turn frantic. People begged her to speak. Some defended Sumit. Others demanded answers. A few asked if she was okay. She didn't reply. There's a kind of silence that makes every viewer hold their breath. This was that. She finally looked back at the camera. He's engaged again, she said. That's the clip going around. And no, I didn't know. I found out like all of you did. On the internet. Her lip trembled, but no tears fell. She kept going. They said I was never meant to stay. That I was temporary. A stand-in until something better came along. I lived in his country for nearly a decade. I gave up everything. I loved that man harder than I've ever loved anyone. And he gave me nothing but waiting. She flipped another page. This photo? That was taken 10 minutes after he begged me to fight for him. Begged me not to leave. Promised me he'd never remarry. And now he's doing it. On camera. With no shame, more silence. Then, one last sentence. You all saw the footage. I saw the live fall apart. She ended the live without warning. No goodbye. No explanation. Just a black screen that left every viewer staring at their phone, stunned. And one question hung in the air. What comes next? Looking back, it wasn't hidden. It was ignored. All of it. The signs were there. Quiet, consistent, and dismissed because Jenny wanted to believe. And so did the audience. But now, with fresh betrayal plastered across the internet, every moment from India reads differently. That time, the cousin wouldn't make eye contact during the Diwali shoot. Jenny had laughed it off as shyness. But it wasn't shyness. It was discomfort. Now it feels like guilt. Or fear. Or both. Sumit's late-night phone calls? He always stepped outside, said it was work stuff. Jenny once followed him out quietly. He spun around so fast it startled her. He snapped, "Privacy, please," then softened it with a smile. But the damage was done. She never asked again. She thought she was respecting his space. Now she knows she was avoiding the truth. The isolation crept in slowly. First, the calls from his mom stopped. Then the invitations to family functions dried up. Jenny was told it was cultural tension, that things needed time. But how long does it take for basic decency to return? She waited. Years passed. The family didn't budge. Sometimes what you call giving grace is really just staying quiet while you're erased. The wedding itself, the one that felt like the win, now feels like the setup. No parents. No elders. Just two people and a promise no one else believed in. Back then, Jenny told herself love was enough. That them standing there, alone, was stronger than a full guest list. Now it looks more like Plan B, a placeholder until the right bride came along. She remembered the look in the officiant's eyes, that slight hesitation before declaring them husband and wife. At the time, she thought it was nerves. Now it plays like hesitation, like doubt. Even the crew had moments. Production asked Jenny multiple times if she was okay off camera. She thought they were being kind. But maybe they saw what she didn't. Maybe they knew something she wasn't ready to hear. And that cousin, Anil, the one who sent that voice note, he always pulled Sumit aside after big scenes. Whispered things Jenny couldn't hear. She thought it was logistics. It could have been damage control. The whole timeline was real to her, but maybe to them, it was rehearsal. And now, the script had flipped. For real. The internet did what the show never dared. Within hours, Reddit threads were crawling with leaked screenshots, blurry clips, and secondhand accounts from a venue in Delhi. What was first dismissed as gossip now carried weight. A staff member from the event hall posted anonymously, claimed he worked the engagement, described the decorations, the guest list, the ceremony timeline. He didn't just confirm the event, he confirmed the intent. It was an engagement, he wrote. Real one. Family was proud. And then came the photo. Not from paparazzi, from someone inside. A guest. The woman next to Sumit wasn't obscured. Her face was clear. She was younger, polished, confident, wearing a designer lehenga that said everything without a word. The caption? Finally, a proper match for Sumit. Jenny stared at the image as it went viral. Shared, liked, dissected. She didn't need a translation. The look in that girl's eyes said it all. Comfort. Safety. Belonging. Then came the clip no one expected. 22 seconds. Sumit's mother. Yes, the same woman who once cried on national television about how Jenny's age brought her shame, raising a glass and giving a toast. Her words were simple. This is the beginning of something we waited years for. The silence she gave Jenny was now filled with applause for someone else. Jenny sat with that truth. Alone. Her phone buzzed non-stop. People tagging her, fans outraged, trolls mocking, journalists reaching out for comment. But the damage wasn't in the footage. It was in the precision, the control, the timing. This wasn't a mistake. It was a campaign. And Jenny wasn't part of it. The loop had closed. From the moment she stepped foot in India, she was fighting a current. She called it love. They called it temporary. Now they were celebrating the ending they'd apparently been waiting for all along. Sumit's smile in the new footage didn't have the panic Jenny remembered from their wedding. No secrecy, no shame, just peace. And that made it hurt more. He didn't look forced. He looked fulfilled. Jenny closed her phone, sat in the quiet. Not defeated, just done. Because now, the question wasn't if she was replaced. It was how long ago the replacement began. She stared at his name on the screen, the same name she had dialed 1,000 times. Sometimes just to hear his voice when he was only in the next room. Now, it was a name she could barely say without shaking. Jenny took a breath and hit call. It rang once, twice, 3 times, and then nothing. Declined. Not missed. Not ignored. Deliberately declined. She waited. Told herself maybe he was busy. Maybe it was a bad time. Then she laughed. A bitter, sharp laugh. When exactly had it ever been a good time for honesty with him? She called again. This time, it rang longer. No answer. She almost gave up. Then the screen lit up. Sumit Singh, calling back. Her hand froze mid-air. She answered. Said nothing. Let the silence speak first. He did. I can't talk. 3 words. No context. No emotion. No shame. He didn't sound angry. He didn't sound guilty. He just sounded done. Like she was a number on a list he was now clearing out. Jenny stayed quiet, waited for him to fill the gap. He didn't. She whispered, "Did you love me at all?" The line clicked. He was gone, disconnected. You'd think heartbreak is loud, but it's not. It's quiet. And it hangs in the air like unfinished business. She sat there, holding her phone like it had betrayed her too. No denial, no explanation, no fight. Not even the decency of a lie. Just silence and that one sentence, "I can't talk." She hit record. Replayed the call on speaker. His voice, flat and final, echoed in the empty room. That's all her fans needed to hear. That was the whole story. Not the video, not the engagement, not the cousin's smug voice note, just that sentence. It confirmed everything. Jenny uploaded the audio to her Instagram stories. No caption, no hashtags, just the file. And then she waited. Within an hour, it was everywhere. Fan screen recorded it, podcasts discussed it, reaction videos popped up by the minute. Some people were angry, some heartbroken. Others said they weren't surprised. But the one thing no one could deny was this. He didn't even try to defend himself. The internet did what Jenny didn't have to. They turned that clip into a reckoning. For every woman who'd been ghosted. Gaslit, tossed aside after giving her all. Jenny had given the world her vulnerability. Sumit had answered it with a brick wall. She didn't post anything else that night. Didn't go live. Didn't speak. She didn't have to. Because 3 words had said it all. And now, the world was waiting for what she'd say next. It started slowly. A few comments here and there beneath the video. Some from longtime fans, others from anonymous accounts. At first, it looked like support. Then, it turned into debate. Not about the engagement, not about the betrayal, but about who was to blame and why it happened the way it did. One user wrote, Sumit was raised in a conservative culture. His family never accepted the marriage. He was stuck. Another replied, then he should have left years ago instead of dragging her through this circus. Arguments spun out in every direction. Some people called it inevitable. Others called it cruel. Words like duty, honor, family pressure were used to defend him. But words like manipulation, grooming, emotional control started appearing with more weight. Jenny's story wasn't just hers anymore. It became a flashpoint, a case study, a mirror. What started as one woman's heartbreak had turned into a public referendum on what love looks like when power is uneven. They picked apart the timeline. Viewers who once ignored the red flags were now posting clips from old episodes with slow-motion captions. That moment, Sumit hesitated before calling her his wife. That episode where he agreed to counseling just to keep peace on set. That time his mom screamed, and he didn't defend Jenny. He just lowered his head. People weren't just watching for entertainment anymore. They were watching for patterns, for proof. For the unspoken contract women like Jenny get pulled into, where love comes with terms, silence, and a slowly shifting goalpost that always stays out of reach. One post went viral. Jenny didn't age out of the relationship. She aged through it, waiting, sacrificing, hoping he'd grow into the man she needed. Underneath it, thousands of likes. Some fans pushed back, said Jenny knew what she signed up for, that she stayed too long, that she should have walked years ago. Others answered bluntly, trauma bonding isn't weakness, it's survival, when your reality keeps shifting. Jenny watched it all, quietly. She didn't reply, didn't repost. She let the world speak this time, because for once, people weren't just defending her, they were understanding her, not as a meme, not as a dramatic storyline, but as a person who built her life on words that were never backed by action. And for the first time since that video hit her phone, she felt something different. Not anger, not sadness, not confusion. She felt seen. And now the only thing left was closure. But she wouldn't wait for him to give it. The paperwork sat on the desk like a quiet declaration of war. No yelling. No slamming doors. Just a notary stamp and a signature. Jenny filed for legal separation that morning. No cameras. No statements. No press. The decision was private, but the message would be loud. She also made sure of something else. Every visa tie, every dependent document, every shared file that could be weaponized later, revoked, deleted, shut down. Sumit may have thought she'd be too emotionally shattered to act. He was wrong. Then, she did the final thing she had avoided for weeks. She blocked his number. She blocked the cousin. She blocked every mutual contact that hadn't reached out to ask if she was okay. If they stayed silent when the clip leaked, she didn't need them now. But she wasn't done. Not yet. She sat down with her phone and recorded one last voiceover. Not for the network, not for drama, for herself and for every person still watching, wondering what she'd say next. Her voice was calm. No trembling, no fake strength. Just a woman who had hit her limit and chosen not to scream, but to end it clean. Some of you have watched me love someone who never had the courage to love me back in the open. I didn't realize how invisible I was until I saw how easily he replaced me, not just with another woman, but with the version of himself he always wanted to be. Obedient, accepted, approved. I was never part of that plan. She paused, let the silence hang, then kept going. I stayed longer than I should have because I believed what we had was rare. Maybe it was, but rare doesn't always mean real. And love, real love, doesn't require your silence to survive. She took a breath. You could hear the steadiness in it. I'm not bitter. I'm not broken. I'm just awake now. Sometimes closure doesn't come from the person who hurt you. It comes from deciding you don't need their permission to move on. Her tone never shifted. It didn't need to. She wasn't performing. She was releasing. To everyone who stood by me, thank you. To everyone who asked why I didn't leave sooner, you'll understand when it's your turn. And to anyone still in something that feels familiar to this, I hope you don't wait for evidence. I hope you listen to your own silence. And then, her final words. Cold. Honest. Surgical. I left everything for one man. He left everything for a lie. The recording ended. She didn't post again for days. She didn't have to. The audience heard what she needed them to. And the silence that followed? This time, it belonged to her.